Hey everyone, welcome back to CryptoCache. Thank you so much for joining me here. I hope you're having a fantastic day and obviously happy Sunday to you and your family. Hope all is well. So what we're going to do, of course, take another look at Bitcoin, just kind of a quick summarization of support levels and key resistances as well. And I think there's some certain things kind of shaping up here so far we want to take a look at and help understand that. And of course, if you're interested in becoming a better trader, CryptoCache.tech is a site, link in the description below, and obviously check that out in your own time. But I do offer discounts for military and third world countries. But the bottom line is that I have a trading academy, teaches you everything I know, as well as, of course, my signals that I share with you, essentially providing you with some good, some good opportunities there. In most cases, obviously, there's a couple times it doesn't work out, but that's the way that trading works. It's all about getting back on the horse and doing it again, and making sure that you do it right the next time. Okay, so again, learn from our mistakes. That's the whole point of this too, as well, is to kind of help understand where we're at in the big picture. So let's take a look. With Bitcoin, first of all, we're below both moving averages on the daily. That's pretty standard. We know that. It's just kind of, it is the way that it is right now. Okay, we're probably going to be like that for some time though, so we just got to recognize that somewhere in the range of about 22,300 or 22.5 would be a resistance level if we break through this current resistance at the current price. In other words, the price action is kind of trending right here at about 21,400. But we see a rejection point already at 21.6, which is basically that key level Fibonacci retracement of 21.7. So you could just say that's a little bit of a channel. And the reason why 21,600 is a strong resistance is because it's worked as a strong resistance in the past. You can see it was tested multiple times before it eventually broke out. It came back down to test as a support, but didn't really work as one. So at this point, it just kind of reaffirms the fact that it's likely a strong resistance. And we could and should see more downside. Again, this is weekend behavior, right? So weekends are typically green if we have a red week. We had a very red week, and we have now a green weekend. So it makes perfect sense. Just keep in mind, profits can definitely be taken on Mondays, and there's a decent chance we should see the price action come down based on this sentiment here. Obviously, we're going to look at some other factors, but this is definitely bearish in the big picture, okay? So we can see another thing as well, which is typically beneficial, is a bounce off of 30 on the RSI, at least close to. We like to see that. That's typically positive for the upside. It makes sense as to why the price action has recovered over the last 48 hours, at least moderately. But on the same accord, it still doesn't reaffirm the fact that we don't have further downside, because we still do, and there's definitely potential for that. It may not be significant. I don't feel that we're going to see much lower than 17.6 on the price action. I do think that we could effectively see that as a double bottom and the price action bounce off of that. But I am definitely tentatively bearish on the short term. Okay, so I think the next couple of weeks, perhaps even month or so, we should see some bearish activity, or just more so sideways and down. It kind of seems like it wants to play that way out. Another thing too, of course, we got a pretty significant MACD divergence. While it's kind of losing its steam, so to speak, it still hasn't subsided, and that's kind of just reiterating the fact that we are definitely moving to the downside. So again, that's kind of just something to kind of recognize. No guarantees on any of that. Here on the 4 hour, the thing that recognizes that we do have a, well, I mean, you can kind of consider it as a death cross when the 50 intersects with the 200 in a downward fashion. I don't put a tremendous amount of weight on the 4 hour time frame when we have that happen. I prefer to see that on the hour, or the daily rather, because it carries more weight. But in this sense, we got to recognize that we're hitting this turning point where the price action is getting rejected at a key level resistance, and we've also got the MACD divergence. I'm fairly confident that we had a divergence on the daily, but now at this point on the 4 hour, again, we got this conflicting convergence, so to speak, from the weekend. All right, so to me, ultimately, even though we do have that convergence on the MACD and we're under 50 on the RSI, above 30, I still do not like the look of what we see here so far with these two things here. That strong resistance level at 21.6, as well as a death cross, so to speak, whereas the price action is moving down. The key here, though, is that the price is underneath the 200-day set moving average on the 4 hour, which is very synonymous in a lot of ways with the 50 on the daily. Okay, so in that sense, it carries a lot more weight. So right around 23,000, we can estimate, will be a strong resistance level if the price were to come up that high. All right, so again, it's very likely we could see that. We could even see a green day tomorrow, and then the price comes up, and we got that little dead cat to come back down. There's a great chance of seeing something like that too, to bounce off those key level resistances. Something to think about. So again, the 4 hour has more bearish potential than bullish. The thing to also recognize too is that we hit this what I think we hit a 9 on TD sequential here recently. So right now it's kind of just trying to recover, and the fact that it hasn't broken through this resistance level, albeit this is a weekend, yes, but it's still not a great sign. Okay, so again, I think that we have that resistance level there at 21.6. If that breaks, we do have another, again, resistance level right in the 23,000 range, where that 200 is averaging itself out. Okay, so those are just some things to kind of recognize. Let's take a look at the 1 hour Ichimoku cloud and kind of see where we're at. We can kind of identify that we are essentially in a position right now where we don't have a great potential short or long entry point. In other words, conversion lines above the baseline, that does tell us the momentum has lost to the downside. We got the lagging span essentially here, free and clear of the price action, telling us it's pretty much ready to continue, possibly higher. But the dilemma that we're running into here, of course, is that we're still within the cloud, and that's a pretty big one. So we got to recognize that it will take a little bit of time to get there. So within the next 12 to 24 hours, we could see the price action break above, and we could also see it break below. So again, there's a couple of different scenarios here. Just because you see 2 out of 3 factors doesn't mean you want to take a trade, because again, the overall sense of things is telling us that there's a resistance here and it's having trouble breaking. So there's a great chance we'll see a kind of a range bound activity for the next maybe 24 hours between 20,700 and 21.6, kind of that $1,000 range roughly, and then potentially see a break to the upside or downside. I mean, I know that kind of goes without saying. That's the standard, the way that everything works. And really, a lot of it depends on how the dollar index opens tomorrow, as well as the fact that S&P and NASDAQ both took a hit yesterday, or sorry, day before yesterday on Friday. So that was a significant push to the downside that allowed Friday to be such a red day for Bitcoin. Again, it's kind of that knee-jerk reaction though. So to me, right now we can kind of expect that. So if you're position sizing, just say with leverage, always use low position sizes. That's what we do to survive in our trading community. I know there were some folks, unfortunately, that got kind of hit by that recently, but again, it depends on how you decide you want to factor in your trades and how much you have to trade too. There's definitely a lot of different things to think about, but with the risk tolerance, it's important to make sure to work within your own risk. And if you're going to take a trade, make sure that you feel comfortable with it and you do it on your own cognizance, right? So that being said, please be careful with trades moving forward. It does still feel like we're more likely to see downside than upside in the immediate future. Even though things are kind of overextended somewhat to the downside, there's still definitely a lot more potential for further downside, as well as the fact that we have these key level resistances, 21,600, 23,000, that are going to work adversely, so to speak, if the price tries to come back up, okay? Which it is definitely trying to do. So again, it doesn't seem sensible that the price action moved as hard down as it did, but again, it happened and we're here now. Just make sure you're cautious and careful the next few days. And again, it does feel like we're going to see a little bit more downside. But once again, a lot of it's come with a flip of a coin. How is the traditional markets going to react tomorrow? We don't truly know that just yet. And that's the great and terrible thing about Bitcoin being traded consistently and the traditional markets being fairly influential on Bitcoin. And those things essentially kind of giving us that what's going to happen over the weekend kind of feeling. So again, a lot of times it does the opposite of what you think it's going to do. We got a green day here so far today and yesterday. Saturday, Sunday makes sense. Monday could very well be the opposite, and we'll have to just wait and see. So that is kind of where we're at for the moment. So be cautious, careful moving forward. And obviously, if you did learn something here today, feel free to let me know. I'd love to hear it. Also, furthermore, very last thing, I do have again, a trading community academy signal group. I've got a lot of new members coming over recently, which is fantastic, even to see in this kind of bearish environment. So I think it's awesome that you're all learning and growing together. And thanks to my current community members for just making it an awesome place. I greatly appreciate you. All right, well, I hope you have a great rest of your day. We'll see you on the next one. Thanks again for your time.